dot, really. Probably, yeah, it'd be 10 plus years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Right. Nice. Nice. We're getting we're back on YouTube, by the way. Hello, YouTubers. If any of you guys are watching, and we got a few crew in on Facebook watching us as well. So that's wonderful to see. Thanks for that. Let's see if we've got any questions there. Just a little bit. You're Emma's said that you're her least favourite ranger.
No, she said just before that I was her favourite
No,
ranking, so I
she
don't know which one
corrected.
she wants.
She
Yeah,
corrected it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with the first one, mate.
Okay, good. Okay, take what you can get. Take what you can get.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
exactly.
Now, I plugged you as knowing a little bit about bushing dyes and reloading dyes and stuff, because that's often choosing dyes is a question that we get a lot, I guess. And bushing dyes are often people go, oh yeah, I've got to get one of those sets. Can you give us a breakdown and why they're useful and when they're useful and perhaps when they're not useful?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So why you would choose them? It gives you well, let's start with what a bushing die is. It's essentially a bushing that comes in 1 thou increments, and right through a range of basically every projectile that's made, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you the option to choose how much your neck gets compressed, or when you resize your brass down to the 1,000th of an inch. Your normal reloading die that you buy from Hornady or RCBS or any of those guys, what you get is what you get. You've got no choice. So it gives you the ability to play with the neck tension, and playing with neck tension can have a reasonably large effect on your group size to go anywhere else.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there is. I think forced to do one.
Yeah, I thought forced to another option.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nothing else comes to mind at the moment, but I'm sure there is.
Yeah, if you guys use something different to Forster or Reading, drop it in the chat. Let us know what you're using. It's always good. Always good to see what's out there and what's kicking around. Good. Oh, look out! My screens are changing. Are we still on? Because everything just disappeared off my screen when I connected the iPad in. Apologies.
I think Facebook's up and going.
Apologies if that has just ruined everything, which it highly chance of it doing. I'm known for breaking most things that I get involved with, so it would be par for the course if that was the case. I'm going to disconnect that and hopefully recover from whatever the hell I just did. Bushing dies are one of the big questions we get with bushing dies is, what bush do you get? Because people buy the die sets and then usually forget to buy the bush until 3 cases in, and then realise, oh, I need some sort of bush to go with this. That's right. That's why my cases are coming out weird. How do you go about choosing that bush size? Because there's a lot of options.
Absolutely. It really helps if you already have the brass picked out that you're going to run.
Mm-hmm.
You can grab something along the lines of this, which is measures case neck thickness.
Okay.
If you can work out your case neck thickness of a typical Lapua case, I think it's about 12 and a half thou from memory. There's obviously 2 walls, so you've got 25 thou. Then you've got a projectile. Say you're running a 243.
Mm-hmm.
That's the diameter of the projectile. So you're looking at 243 plus 25 thou is where you're going to be without any neck tension. So that's 0 neck tension. A lot of guys like to play around with the probably 2 thou to 4 thou of actual neck tension. So what that means, if you get a 243 diameter projectile and you add 25,
yep,
you're looking at approximately 267 thou.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll take off 2 to 3 to 4 thou. And what that does is your bushing is sizing the brass slightly smaller. And then when your projectile goes in, you've got your 2, 3, or 4 thou of neck tension.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty hard to choose the bushing that you need if you don't have your brass sorted, or unless you decide you're going to neck turn. With the amount of brass that we go through and the amount you lose, I'm reluctant to neck turn in PRS because it's just too much of a time investment.
Yeah, okay.
So I tend to go with the Lapua brass, or like the Alpha or the high quality brass that's going to be super consistent. That's what I do.
It's an interesting point you make, the amount of time you spend on brass prep, given that there is a chance you will lose some of your brass throughout a match.
Yeah, if anyone's ever seen Nick, he when he was shooting his 243 AI, he'd hunt around the grouse for an hour after the match and finish to get that one piece back.
You sure he wasn't just looking for his dignity?
Well, he wouldn't find that on the ground, mate.
Went years ago. Okay, Nick's probably watching. So Nick's one of two things: either watching on TV on the couch, and he's not commenting, or he's in the chat commenting when he's on his phone or something. And so if you say enough, he'll get up off the couch and come and join in the chat, and that's what we're aiming for. So, anyway.
Now, the other thing to take into account is your chamber spec as well.
Yep.
So, neck turning is a whole thing that I probably won't even want to get into tonight. That's probably a whole show all by itself.
Okay.
But you need to. It helps if you know your chamber dimensions, and then you can work out how much clearance you're going to have between a loaded round and the chamber, and that also gives you a bit of assistance to work out how much, like your neck wall thickness and all that sort of stuff. You don't want to be having like a 10th gap on either side and you just work hard in your brass like a lot. It's not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And alternatively, you don't want to get a chamber you need to neck turn to even load a round into.
Yeah, I guess you want to get the right balance, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So especially in something like PRS where you need to be able to cycle that action quickly and not have anything lock up at all. You haven't got the time for that.
Absolutely. Previously, when I shot F-class, I didn't full length size every time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to full length size probably every fourth firing or somewhere around there, or as you started to feel the bolt lift or the bolt close, getting a little bit stiff as you were chambering. Mm-hmm. But with PRS, one failed feed will cost you an entire stage.
Yeah,
so I full length size every time, and I don't. When I full length size, I measure the shoulder bump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested whether it's 1 thou or 4 thou. I'm interested in having a smooth and an easy feed of the bolt.
Yep.
And that's rather than just picking a number, they're saying I just want to bump the shoulder 2 thou. I pick the number and I test it in the rifle and use what works rather than just picking a number.
Got it. Okay. And so when would be an appropriate time to not use neck sizing? A bush
require the type of accuracy and the consistency that offers by using a bushing die. But anything where you're looking for precision and accuracy, that would be every single one of my rifles that I've shot for target or PRS. I've always used a bushing die. Okay.
And what other dies did you stay with Reading dies, but you just use sort of their basic set?
No, I'll use the Type S match dies.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't neck size, so I didn't get the neck sizing die. I use a bushing die that's a full length die.
Yep.
And then you have the micrometer seating die, which is always nice just to be able to turn the dial and bump it down a couple of thou or something like that, rather than having to adjust the nut and the little screw on the traditional ones.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very good. We've got so guys, if you got any questions for Plushy about reloading dies or anything on those lines, we're trying to keep up on both chats with Facebook and YouTube tonight. We'll see how we go. There is a question. Kieran's asked you to show us Plushy. I'm not sure what you want to see. What you want Plushy to show you. I'm sure he's up for most things. Plushy's looking so majestic on the stream. I mean, he always looks majestic. That's just the way he rolls. Alex wants to see the State of Origin Cup. It's in here somewhere.
That's in your house, not my house.
It's here somewhere. I will attempt to find it. And what else have we got? Percentage-wise, all what you're saying about reloading. How much does it matter in the outcome of PRS match result?
That is a really good question.
Yep.
My personal opinion is if your rifle shoots approximately half minute or under, stop doing load development and start shooting it.
Yep.
We don't shoot long enough distances in Australia at the moment that having sub half minute accuracy is required, I don't think. I mean, the rifle I just had chambered in 6mm Creed, my load development's done in about 35 rounds.
Yep.
including barrel break-in. Well, I don't really break in the barrel, but including barrel break-in, about 35 rounds, and it's shooting sub half minute, and that's good enough for me. I don't think you'll drop a point, well, you won't drop very many points anyway, by having a rifle that shoots like that. And to be honest, someone that's starting out and learning, if your rifle's shooting sub MOA, I think that's good enough. That's more than good enough. I think if you put a rifle that shoots MOA in Lucas McKenny's hands, he'd still win.
Yeah, sure. But you're working on that, aren't you, Plushy? You're working on that.
Yeah, I'm seeing what I can do. If you just let me ride all the PRS matches, mate, I'll be fine.
Good. What brand dies and presses you guys run? Reading for you, Reading for me as well, actually. Presses, I run a Forster. What are you running, Plushy? I
run a Rock Chucker RCBS, and I've got when I first started loading, I started with the standard Lee press that everybody gets, but that's now basically my decapping press.
Yeah,
that's all it gets used for, and all the nice powder and carbon and lead dust and all that gets to run in that one rather than the Rock Chucker.
Yeah, just talk about that a little bit, because not everyone's aware of that. That it's not uncommon for guys. Are we wearing the same shirt?
We are, Snap. Yeah,
we prepared that well. Anyways, I just saw you lean up a little bit and saw the logo. Looks great.
I haven't got any pants on, so I won't lean too far up, mate.
Oh well, we'll see. Wait till we hit 8:30, and then we'll see what goes on. A
couple more of these, you might be there.
I've forgotten my question now. Decapping, like a separate decapping press die setup. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fair bit of, when you deprime or decap, you're going to get carbon come out. There's going to be potentially little bits of burnt whatever else there is in there by rusty, and if that gets in the shaft of the press, it starts to chew it out. Over time, you're going to start getting some slop in the press, and that's something I'm trying to avoid. Really, trying to keep it as consistent as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of guys run on a second press or an old press for what you're talking about, or a cheap press, and just decapping. Yeah, they like to get
plus the Lee one.
What else have we got? Do you anneal your brass, Plushy?
Yes, every time.
Every time.
Yeah, I watched. I haven't been keeping up with all of the videos, but I did watch the reloading one from last week today, and Andy Little and I have a fairly similar process, I think.
Okay.
I decap.
Yep.
Stainless steel tumbler, wet pin tumbler, dehydrate dry, and then I anneal, shoulder bump or full length size.
Yep.
Then I put them back in again and clean again. Sometimes I use pins, sometimes I don't. I've been having a little bit of an issue. I just changed lubricant recently. I ran out of the Reading wax, and I've gone to the Imperial sizing dye wax, and that doesn't come off quite so easy without the stainless steel pins, as it turns out.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I'll do that one, dehydrate, prime, charge, and seat projectiles.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, there was a question there from Ian about wet or dry. I thought it was about lube. Anyway, I'm making things up. Jason's got a question about does each rifle have a sweet spot for the neck tension, or is there a general tension that works well for you?
Generally, I find 3 thou is what I aim for.
Okay.
And unless something is not drastically wrong, unless something is not working, before I'd even look to change that. So I'd try other things before I'd look to try to change the neck tension.
Okay.
For me, neck tension of 3 thou, and I'll probably play with charge weight and seating depth more to try and fine tune my load than neck tension.
Yeah.
If those things aren't working, then I'd start looking at neck tension, but I'd be looking at those things first.
Okay. Makes good sense. Alex has a question. What is your opinion on Fresh's best when it comes to reloads? We timed my hands thanks to the Rona. Wondering whether to load up a couple of matches worth of ammo now.
I know that I think it's David Tubb, isn't it? He's got a bit of information out there about the bonding that happens between the copper projectile and the brass case. The longer it sits in there, it can actually start to have a great attention because of some sort of chemical bonding between the two.
Yep.
I have zero real world proof of that. I don't doubt that it's true because David Tubb says it. But
Yep.
I'm one of those guys that I'm never loaded up for more than one match at a time.
Gotcha.
Generally, I know that
is that because you're too busy and you don't actually have time to load for more?
My wife says lazy, but let's go with too busy.
I wasn't talking about housework, mate.
No, look, I know that if I've got to travel to a match on a Thursday, I need to start loading on a Monday if I haven't done anything. Otherwise, I'm going to be in like a 2:00 finish, like Andy Little, every single time before I'm ready to go.
Gotcha.
So I know my process well enough now to know how long it takes me to get 300 rounds prepped and loaded.
Yep. Very good. Alex Triffus has a question of why is the cup in my house? Well, Alex, let me remind you, it's not an individual cup; it's a state cup, and apparently I'm a representative of South Australia shooting. So there it is.
You might even be president of the club that hosted it, mate.
Yeah, that's also involved and also sponsored this particular one because it's the Impact Dynamics Cup, and that's actually the reason I still have it, because we're going to bet a little plaque thing with the logo and with the spots for each year. So I guess by default, probably should just put 2020 on there because it's a really good chance we're going to keep it anyway.
Totally agree, mate. It wouldn't matter if they shot anyway. It's still not going to make a difference.
All right, we're going to flick over to some questions from YouTube as well, mate. We're just getting slammed with questions. This is awesome. All right, so some guys using Reading standardised rifles and Hornady and Lee for handguns. Good stuff. Someone's yelling at Nick to get in the chat, which is always smart. Have you tried Lee collet dies to see what sort of accuracy you can get from those?
Personally, no, but I've heard nothing but good things about those as far as concentricity and consistency.
Yeah, that's I've heard the same.
I think Travie Harris runs those, and he shoots very, very well. His rifles, except when
go arms the other night. So just go watch that if you haven't yet. What's the biggest leap forward you've made with your reloading? Was it equipment or process or some other? That's probably about it, isn't it?
To be honest. Accepting that full length sizing was no disadvantage over neck sizing. When I shot F class, everybody just said just neck size, just neck size, and I did that when I first started. I'm like, okay, just neck size, and then it was getting stiff bolt close and stuff like that, and I was like, what's going on? What's wrong? And then sort of asked around. I'm like, what am I missing here? And they were like, you haven't full length resize, have you? And I'm like, no, nobody told me about this full length resizing thing. and I started doing that, and I was like, oh, right, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Right.
Beyond that, I think actually getting myself a decent set of measuring tools, so I can like a set of digital verniers, the neck wall thickness gauge, and like the bump gauges and your caliber gauges for checking your base to O-drive and that type of stuff, so I could actually start measuring what I was doing. And then I could start recording it and then start to know what was normal and what was not normal.
Yep.
That was probably, apart from the full-length sizing thing, that's probably the biggest leap forwards to see what I was doing, understand what I was doing, and then begin to understand when it wasn't right.
Yeah, actually quantifying your processes and your changes. Yeah, really, really sensible. Do you weigh your cases at all?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. What made you change?
No, not shooting F class.
Okay.
So I used to sort my cases by weight. Now, bearing in mind, you only need to come up with 12 rounds that were identical, because your details are two-siders, 10 shots to count generally.
Yep.
And because you had your two-siders, it didn't matter if you had a slight elevation change between one batch to the next batch, because you could adjust for that. So we would weigh cases, we would weigh projectiles and sort by 0.1 grain increments. And I would also sort my projectiles on base to O-drive measurement as well. So you'd end up with, I have a tray up here with about 30 tubs in there. And you would just have cases and projectiles left, right, and center.
Mm-hmm.
and you'd be looking for batches of 12.
Yeah, right. That's fascinating. Yeah.
Since I started shooting PRS, I think Andy commented on something similar early on, that when you're wobbling on a barricade, point 0.2 or 0.3 of a MOA makes absolutely zero difference to whether you hit the target or not.
Yeah, there's more things being tested at one time.
Absolutely, and we're looking for definitely the consistency, but not the level of precision that you're looking for at F class. So I think using good quality components like your brass and your projectiles and primers and stuff like that are the consistent is enough for PRS.
Yeah,
I don't weight sort projectiles or anything like that anymore.
Yeah, and I guess like it is a game of consistency because you have to shoot really well the whole time, but the range of tests are much broader, and you've got to be a lot better. You've got to be a lot better at a lot more things than being really good at a handful of.
Absolutely, I do when I'm reloading. I still use a one of the original, the Chargemaster 1500s. It's getting a bit long in the tooth now. It's probably over 10 years old.
Yep.
So I'm looking to upgrade to it's one of the A&D setups with the powder throwers and all that sort of stuff at some point when we're allowed to shoot again.
Yep.
So I'm a bit wary. The Charge Masters do tend to drift a little bit, and I do keep a very close eye on that when I'm reloading. And if I start to see a little bit of drift, I might make that particular 20 or 30 my practice rounds more than my match rounds.
Okay. Good to know. There's a couple more questions on case stuff. I assume do you trim relates to cases, not your beard, but perhaps a question for both, or maybe along.
So I mentioned before I use a Lapua brass on a new batch of brass. That's something that's also important. I think that I was going to mention a second ago. I buy my brass in same lot number when I buy it. When I buy projectiles, I buy the same lot number, so I try and buy in bulk.
Yep.
And when I buy my powder, I also try and buy several 4 kilo tubs of the same lot, just to try and keep that consistency thing going as well. But with the Lapua brass, I definitely deburr flash holes, and I think you'd be lucky to find 1 in 100 that actually have a burr in them. With the cases being drilled rather than punched.
Yep.
They're really, really good. I don't uniform primer pockets. I think I've seen more cases having bits and pieces scraped out the side of the primer pocket and bits and that sort of thing than actually increasing the consistency.
Okay.
So it's not something I've worried about previously, and I don't give it much weight, if you know what I mean.
Got it.
As far as actually uniforming, potentially on another type of brass, it might become more important, but I'm not seeing it in the poor brass.
Okay.
So as far as trimming, I hate trimming. I do it the least amount possible.
You should get yourself a garrote, then you'll love trimming.
Yeah, that's on the shopping list.
Good.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they are a solid piece of kit.
So I do things slightly differently on that front. So obviously I said I wet pin tumble, decap, wet pin tumble, I anneal, and then I full length size with my bushing die, and then I measure overall case length, and then I make the decision. I'll probably sample about 10 of the batch I'm doing, and then if they're getting within about 0.03 to 0.05 of a thou, not of a thou, of about 3 to 5 thou along those lines, I'll trim the whole lot of my max length.
Okay.
And in 6.5 Creed, I reckon that was probably about every 4 to 5 firings. I'd have to actually trim, chamfer, and deburr.
Yep.
I generally don't chamfer or deburr unless I've trimmed. I've never seen any adverse effects from not doing that, so I try to cut that out if I can.
Yep.
As far as other case prep, I do use when it comes to seating primers, I use one of the 21st century priming tools. They're adjustable in, I think, half 10th hour increments for the seating depth.
Okay.
And they are super consistent. They're slow because you can only load one at a time. But they are very, very consistent for seating.
Okay. Good. All right. I think that's handled a number of questions. Do you case capacity? Do you measure case capacity at all?
Nope, not at all.
Not at all. Do you play much with seating depth? Andy Little wants to know with defined accuracy.
Yes.
Is he asking a loaded question?
Not necessarily. Look, once I get a load,
Yep.
I won't change it until it stops shooting.
Okay.
If there's no reason to, I won't. I won't. But yeah, when I'm developing a load, absolutely, I'll load somewhere close to touching the lands.
Yep.
When I can. I started with a Tika TAC A1. Couldn't even get close to the lands with mag length. And I'll generally go 30 thou changes in seating depth and start to play with that. So essentially, I do a ladder test over about 20 charge weights in 0.3 grain increments.
Yep.
And I generally look for obviously flat spots on the target if I can, or I'm happy to just run off flat spots in velocity off of the labrador or the magnetospeed, whatever you're using.
Yep.
And then I'll pick the middle of what I think the node is, the velocity node, and go back and then load up some of the same charges with 30 thou difference in seating depth, and see when the groups really start to tighten up, and play around with that. So yeah, I definitely play with seating depth, but only if I have to. Okay. I had a bit of a problem with I used to run Nosler RDFs in 6.5 Creed, obviously not liking the length of jump that I had. I had a big jump with those ones. Then changing back to the hybrid projectile seemed to clear that up.
Okay. No problem. All right. One question here from Butters. Are you prepared? You ready?
Can't wait.
What is your worst reloading habit?
Watching YouTube while I'm reloading.
So get distractions is what you're saying?
Distractions, yeah. I've got a little boy. He's nearly 2. He loves to come in and help. And that's been a bit of a challenge now. My reloading has now gone to after about 7:30, 8 o'clock when he goes to bed, because otherwise he comes in and things tend to get moved and you lose where you're up to, stuff like that. So distractions are my worst reloading habit, I think.
Okay.
Beyond that, nothing too much. I'm not one of those guys that I'll have a beer while I'm reloading. I won't have 10, but I'll definitely enjoy a beer. I wouldn't recommend drinking a 6-pack during your reloading session.
Sensible. All right. Do you weigh your projectiles at all? People want to weigh everything, don't they?
No, not anymore. Yes, I used to. Like I said before, I used to batch everything. But once again, depending on your choice of projectile, depends on how much you need to do. With the Nosler RDFs, I was finding there was quite a lot of variation between batches. So at times I would just sample a few, and if I was getting a big variation, I would actually separate them into maybe 2 batches. I was getting some close to 141 and some close to 139.5 from memory. So I just sort of separate them into 2 halves. And try and cut that down. I wasn't going crazy about it, but with the Hornady and the burgers, I find they're really consistent. So I don't think there's a need for it.
Okay. I want to let you know that Emma is actually supporting you tonight. Apparently there was only 4 likes on YouTube, and she yelled at everyone in the chat, and it's gone up to 13. So,
good work, Emma.
Well done. Well done. Good. How many times do you reload your cases before you turf them? Is there a set number, or do you look for signs of them being on their way out?
Absolutely. So, no, I don't have a set number where I bin them. I think annealing every time adds to the case life. So, as an example, I had 300 pieces of lapel brass with my 6.5 Creed. That did around about 3,000 rounds. So that's 10 firings. I just next size those down to 6mm Creed, and I'm going again. The primer pockets are tight. I'm seeing no signs of like obviously case head separation or anything like that. There's nothing there, and they've been extremely consistent in the 6mm Creed. So I'll probably run those until I start to see some signs that they're not coping very well anymore.
Okay.
One thing I am aware of is primer pockets.
Yep.
So I'm very cautious. I've not had to bin any of this particular batch, but previously the 284 that I was running, they were pretty hard on primers. And after about 10 or so firings, those ones are starting. You get the odd one with the loose primer pocket, and I just bin those straight away.
Okay.
So that's one thing I'm aware of. If I've got a loose primer pocket, I'd rather get rid of it than have an issue with it.
Got it. There is sort of all sort of talk in the chats going on about how many reloads you get in bits and pieces. I think it's very subjective to how well you treat your brass and what you expect from them. I was talking about how do you clean your brass? You use stainless steel, don't you?
Yeah, stainless steel, dishwashing liquid, and I'm still on the burnishing compound that they came with. I've got some citric acid, and when that runs out, I'll probably figure something out with citric acid and dishwashing liquid.
Okay. Yep. Very good. There was a question I saw there that I've now
There was
lost.
one about full length sizing affecting your brass life compared to when you just neck sized.
Oh yeah, that's over in Facey. Yeah. That one. How's that changed for you?
I think there would be 10% or 20% or something like that.
Okay. Yep. Andy Little was the question that I had. How do you know when your scales are drifting? I mean, over the last couple of weeks, my scales have drifted up for some reason. But what about yours reloading scales?
Yeah, my scales in the bathroom keep drifting up as well, Rusty. I don't know what's going on with
the same problem, mate. It must be you got fluoro lights in the bathroom or something, because I reckon that's my problem.
Maybe it's because I've always got my phone in the bathroom. That might be interfering with it.
It must be. Yeah. So it's all that 5G stuff, mate. That's what it's doing. It's ruining everything.
Absolutely. Now, as far as drift,
yep.
On the powder dish, I have the weight written on it, and I watch the weight when you take your powder off.
Mm-hmm.
It's 156.7 grains is what it weighs.
Okay.
And every time I'm dumping the powder in the case, I'm checking to make sure it's returning to 150, 156.7 or whatever the number is.
Okay.
And sometimes it'll return up to half a grain higher or lower than that number.
Yep.
And that's usually a sign that the scales might not have warmed up properly. Mm-hmm. Could have a bit of an interference with your power source or something like that.
Yep.
I run the Charge Master through a UPS to try and filter the power, and that's made a massive difference.
Okay.
They seem to stay a lot more consistent now.
Nice. Matthew has asked if there is he's getting a new barrel on his 220 Swift. He said, what loads do you suggest? I don't know if you've had experience with 220 Swift, but
I've never run a 220 Swift, but I'd start with whatever the ADI book says or the Nick Harvey manual or something like that. Start low, work up, watch for pressure signs, and see what works for you. Yeah. I'd never recommend using somebody else's load, especially somebody that's off the internet. Always start safe, work up, and you be the judge of what's safe rather than somebody that's not seeing what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think there's reasons as to why you say that, and because every chamber is cut differently, and every chamber is going to respond differently to how you load. Just more than just the chamber. There's many reasons as to why there's variation there, and that can, a very very simple way for things to go wrong. Absolutely,
you can't even assume that between, say, some Hornady brass and some lapel brass or some normal brass that the internal dimensions of that case are the same. So, 40 grains of some powder in that case could well be the equivalent of 43 grains of powder in a smaller capacity case. You really need to be careful of that.
Yeah, can definitely change things very, very quickly. Very quickly, mate. What's have you got anything particular item that has improved your reloading? Like what's been the most? I'm running out of words tonight. I'm struggling with this dual channel system. Is there a single item that's made the most benefit for your reloading process?
That's a good question.
Thanks. Took me a while.
I almost go I would almost go somewhere between the annealer and the wet pin tumbler.
Okay.
The annealer for the consistency for every single firing.
Mm-hmm.
That's made a big difference, I think.
Yep.
And the other one's the wet pin tumbler. I used to use just a vibrationary tumbler with the corncob media.
Yep.
And it didn't clean. It cleaned the outside of the cases; they look really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't clean primer pockets properly, and it didn't clean the inside of the case properly, and it didn't clean the inside of the case neck properly.
Okay.
For me,
Right.
and I figured they were probably as important, if not more important, than how shiny the case was on the outside. So that's really it surprised me. The first batch of brass I put through the wet pin tumbler,
mm-hmm.
how black the water came out was amazing. How much carbon and all that sort of stuff was built up inside the cases.
Yeah, right.
I think that's made a fair difference.
And what annealer do you use?
I've got the same as Ben Jarrett, the case annealer.
Okay.
Runs the map gas or whatever it is torch, mm-hmm. and exact same process. The Tempelac and till it melts at 400 degrees, as I think was pointed out.
Yep.
It was that's the magic number.
Seems so. What have you found?
I've actually got two. I've got two.
Two tumblers. Oh, now you just
I've got
what
two.
A flex. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a funny story actually. I bought the cheap eBay one because I'm a bit of a tight ass sometimes, and I got it here and it ran half a batch of brass and then it stopped working. So I jumped on the old eBay and mentioned that it had stopped working, and if they wouldn't mind sending me another one, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And some backwards and forwards, and they offered me $20. And I was like, no, it's probably not going to cut it. Wouldn't mind one that works, please. And eventually, they agreed to send out another one.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I pulled it to pieces, and then worked out there was a wire had come loose on the inside come off the side of the motor, and then now I have two.
Okay. Oh, well, there you go.
So it's great. So I run I think it's the 5 kilo one off of eBay. It's a KD 2000 tumbler. It screams quality. And I put up to 150 cases in there would be the maximum I'd run.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think it's important that you don't overload it to the point where your brass, it needs to go up high and then fall down and actually tumble. It can't just go round and round in circles. So there's something you just need to sort of have a go and go by feel, really.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's an important thing. Now I was going to ask you. I had a question for you, and I've completely forgotten what it was. It was about new people starting out. What would you? Have you got any advice for them? If someone's now sitting there going, well, I might as well start reloading, or I've got the kit there. What do you suggest they do?
Get out to a club of like-minded people, and it's important that they're like-minded people, and get out there and talk to them and tell them what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Take their advice. Don't necessarily take the advice of the first person that answers your questions.
Yep.
Ask lots of people and get lots of opinions.
Yep.
And go back. And I like it's doing the rounds on one of the podcasts at the moment. I think it might be the Modern Day Sniper. It's trust but verify. I think that's really, really important. To go away, do your research, and form your own opinion, and give it a go.
Yeah, it's not silly at all. Trust but verify. I like that.
It's really good. It's just something that stuck with me.
Yeah, no, very simple, mate.
But as far as getting out to the club, I mean, if you're interested in reloading, or getting out to a club, if you're interested in reloading, you don't have to come out with 150 rounds ready to go. You can come out with a couple of lots of 5 rounds that you've loaded up and just see what happens.
Yep.
And then talk to some people. Don't worry, they'll give you advice at a shooting range.
Mm-hmm.
It'll come even if you don't ask questions. And just learn from everybody. Try. You don't have to succeed on the first time.
True.
It would probably be my one piece of advice to people, on top of trust but verify. But don't feel like you have to learn it all on the first day. Like try something. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Try something different.
And speaking of, carry on.
I was going to say the old saying as well, I think, is buy once, cry once. Is really important. Don't buy something that you didn't want and regret it until you buy the thing that you wanted.
Yep.
Save up, make do, and get the thing that you want, and get something that's good quality. It'll last you for a long time.
Absolutely. speaking of clubs, by the way, our club, which is Practical Shooting SA, has $1 memberships. Your membership will last all of 2020. So obviously we won't be able to shoot for a little while, but even once we can shoot for the remainder of the year, you'll be a full member on board for a single dollar. So jump over to the website and go get that hooked up.
You just put your president hat on for a minute, mate. My membership runs out in September, so can I get it for 50 cents?
No, you're sorry, I just got the president hat on the moment. No, you're anyone who is already a member. Their membership is what's the word?
Correct. Extended
by however many months we're not shooting for. That's how many free months you get of membership. So anyway, if you're in SA and you're thinking about joining our club for $1, you may as well. Yeah, at least.
I think that's dependent on you being a member of the SSAA. If you're not, you'll have to join up to the SSAA nationally as well. But if you're already a member, it is $1.
Yeah, but the club membership's $1. So yes, yeah, true.
That's right. Yes.
True. All right, excellent. Well, mate, I think we've got time for maybe a question or two, but I have got a song that I wanted to play you. If that's all right, I found this song the other day, and I just thought it might be it made me think of you. Are you ready?
I don't know that I'll ever be ready, Rusty.
Gingers have no friends and no one will have sex with them. They come out at night, they creep and crawl. Who does God hate most of all? Gingers. Who should have never been born? Gingers. Who's adopted? Gingers. Who belongs with floating turds in the fucking toilet bowl? Gingers. Gingers are leprechauns, evil Irish little drunks. They should all be killed at once. Kill them and collect insurance, but they're already fucking dead. Skin is white, hair is red. They like giving head to men in bed. It's gay.
Right, anyway, so I don't know if you heard that one before.
I can't believe they didn't drop the Gingers Have No Souls.
They didn't need to. What I think is going to be funny, though, depending if you're ever coming back or not after me playing that to you. By the way, thanks for coming on the show to be insulted. Is the Q&A on Sunday night, we may actually end up with an entire panel of Gingers. How good would that
How good
be?
is that? Taking over the world.
Yeah, one Q&A panel at a time. Anyway, we may have just how many Gingers are there? About 11% or something. We just offended 11% of our audience. Anyway.
That's probably better than usual.
It's better than any show Nick goes on. Yeah, not wrong. Oh, good. Oh yeah, some guys are happy that instead of memes tonight, we get an absolute roast of the guest. Oh, anyway, his content. Andrew Stevens said it's made his day. Anyway, well, what about all the useful advice that Simon put out there?
I don't know how useful it was, mate.
It's been. Andy Little says thanks for your wisdom, Plushy. So this has been some good stuff there. Thank you. All right, any quick last questions, guys, before we wrap up? We have pretty much a minute or two. We went way over time the other night, so we're trying to wind that back in.
I'll take one for the team, mate. I don't mind you cutting me short.
Cutting you to the normal time. Very good.
What time does Married at First Sight start? I don't know. Am I missing it?
Jay's reported in that it was finished. So that's why we don't see Jay in the chat anymore because he's not avoiding that. Oh, well, very good, mate. Yeah. Very good. Excellent. Well, maybe one more question for me then. What is your next big purchase for reloading? You talked about, you hinted towards a couple of things tonight, but is there something that you were staring down the barrel of and ready to go? Yeah,
the auto trickler, the A&D scales that will be my next purchase.
Yep.
The Charge Master's been good.
Yep.
But it's definitely getting towards the end of its lifespan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to be honest with you, I don't think I need it for the accuracy. Yep. I think if your theory is loading to a velocity node, if you're 0.1 or 0.2 grains over or under, it's not going to make a massive difference to your point of impact.
Yep.
But that consistency of being much more accurate than the Charge Master is what I'm chasing.
Yeah.
That 0.5 grain over or 0.5 grain under that you sometimes get, that's enough to start throwing you out.
Gotcha. Okay. There is a quick Ian Nolan's asked, when are you going to match direct? Well, Ian, if you bothered rocking up to some of the matches at Monado, if you drove over for him, you would have already experienced some of Plushy's matches. So, you know,
if we have a Steel Slam this year, I think I'm down for that one as well.
Probably, yeah, absolutely. Right, favorite barrel at the moment? Is that have you got a particular brand that you're using? I'm guessing.
Actually, that's a good point. Up until my most recent purchase, I've been a Krieger man.
Mm-hmm.
Had Kriegers for quite some time.
That's
Had a really good run
shooter,
with them,
isn't it?
Sorry.
That's because you were an F-class shooter, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's the brand of choice.
They sell really good truck axles, mate.
Yep. Yep. Good.
And recently, I've made the swap to a Swan barrel.
To a Swan barrel. How's that gone?
Yeah, I dropped. Actually, it's going really, really well. Nick chambered it for me, put it together, and he's done a really, really good job, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's shooting probably third MOA on average.
Okay.
I'm super, super happy with it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my theory behind that was time I might have this problem next time I want to rebarrel. And I had a chat to Nick, just an off the cuff conversation, and he said, "Why don't you look at a Swan?"
Yep.
And I was like, well, "How quick can you get one?" He said, "Oh, a couple of weeks." He came through.
Wow.
And the rest is history. Australian made barrel.
Yeah, good.
And it's shooting really, really well. At the moment, I mean, I've only got maybe 300 rounds through it, but
Still
I've got zero complaints whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Swan on my 223 comp gun, and yep, it's not the gun. It's definitely not the gun or the barrel. It's got a lot more to do with me. All right, last question we got here from Scott. Do you check your concentricity of your loaded rounds at all?
I don't have a concentricity gauge, but I do borrow one from time to time.
Okay.
And I generally check the run out of my loaded rounds, and they're consistently on or under 1,000.
Yeah, brilliant. That's what I need.
So I don't worry too much about it. The setup I've got seems to be working well. So
okay.
I don't feel the need to check it. Yep. One last piece of advice, I think. My Kestrel Monado meltdown, I didn't bother measuring my shoulder bump, and because it's always been the same, and it turns out my die had come loose a quarter of a turn. Every single time I had to close the bolt on the rifle, I almost had to hammer it shut, which was not a fun experience. So that was probably something coming back to. I think Butters made a question about what's your worst habit. That was a lesson about not getting complacent and getting back to what I used to do was measure everything. So now I have my digital calipers out with the correct gauge on, and I measure every seated round, every shoulder bump. I check it and make sure it's where I want it to be. Yep,
sensible. Very sensible. Very good, mate. Well, thank you very much for your time, apart from offending you significantly. I no doubt, I know that the people appreciated some of that advice. It's good information there, and it's great to get it out as well. So thanks for your time tonight. Great to see you, and checking on the beard, getting more solid every day. I like it.
It's basically my face mask, mate. Yeah. It's going to keep me safe.
It always kept me safe. Yeah, very good.
No, thanks for having me on, Rusty, and I really appreciate the work you're putting into keeping everybody slightly sane. It's
something to giggle at least, if nothing else.
Difficult time we're going through.
Yeah, no sweat, man. No sweat. Good fun. All right, guys, we're done here. Thanks, man. And we'll be back tomorrow night with Jonesy, another ranger. So I guess we'll play the song again for that.
Let's go 3 for 3.
I've got to turn you off. Let me turn you off. Kerry from Monday night, I believe he's the same. He just didn't have any hair to prove anything on Monday, so that's the way. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining in. Projectile Warehouse, if you're obviously reloading stuff, you can save 5%. ID Live, ID LIVE, number 5. Use that code on the website and you'll save 5%. If you are looking for reloading gear, Redding and Hornady and Lee and all sorts of bits and pieces, drop me a line, drop me a message, and we'll get some kit put together, and can recommend more than just what appears on the website as well. So we can do all of that. Guys, hope you have a wonderful Good Friday, whatever you're doing for your at-home Good Friday, and we will catch all of you hopefully tomorrow night. All right. We'll get out of here and go and do whatever it is we do on a not before a public holiday, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Anyway, all the best. Have fun.
Gingers have no friends and no one will have sex with them. They come out at night, they creep and crawl. Who does God hate most of all? Gingers. Who should have never been born? Gingers. Who's adopted? Gingers. Who belongs with floating turds in the fucking toilet bowl? Gingers. Gingers are leprechauns, evil Irish little drunks. They should all be killed at once. Kill them and collect insurance, but they're already fucking dead. Skin